I'm back. Bluster and Blue Jays is here. Today, you're going to feel a bit more of the bluster from me, your host, Jeff Morton. It's Sunday, February the 16th. I thought I'd wait till the end of the night to see what was going on and to see if my would still have power, because apparently the city is drowning in snow. So I'm trying to get the warm vibes from spring training and hoping that they'll kind of hit me up here a little bit to give me a sense of that baseball feel on the 16th of February, as opposed to the 1 foot of snow that's been dumped outside my apartment, shutting down the subway, shutting down roads, shutting down everything. So let's talk about the Blue Jays. Not so much the team, but the things that surround the team. There are things that have been bothering me for a very, very long time. And you know what? This seems like the best place to kind of get this stuff off my chest. That's why we call it Bluster and Blue Jays, because I'm here to give the bluster. Now, nothing drives me more batty than people who talk out their butts about things they know nothing about or don't use facts to back up the things that they say. One thing I have noticed with the Blue Jay fans is they're becoming more and more ornery, very defeatist, pessimistic. And I call this the Maple Leaf effect. It seems that since the Maple Leafs haven't won anything since, 6 years before I was born, and I'm in my 50s, I think Toronto fans just kind of take that hatred and put it on the other teams, even though all of them have won championships since 1967. The Jays in 92-93, Raptors in 2019, Toronto FC, I believe, was also in 2019, and the Toronto Argonauts have won, 5 or 7 Grey Cups since then. So we have teams that win here. Not the Leafs, but we do. Even the Jays have made the playoffs since their postseason run. I mean, it hasn't been the best 30 years. It could have been better, but we had some pretty bad management, bad ownership. I'm looking at you, Interbrew. But we now have ownership willing to spend. Ownership that has rebuilt their stadium, rebuilt their spring training facility that they've been there since day one in Dunedin. A wonderful place, by the way. If you ever want to go to spring training, it's well worth the trip. So why are these Jays fans so pessimistic? Because they don't listen. They're used to things going wrong. If I have to hear the word Shatkins one more time, I'm going to bash my head against the wall. That's how I feel about it, because it's such an old trope. Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins have not been perfect. They have been far from being perfect, but they are not complete and utter morons that screw us over every single time there's a transaction made. And players who get hurt or players who underperform are not going to underperform or be hurt for the rest of their careers. But for some reason, Jays fans seem to think that as soon as something goes wrong, it's going to be wrong all the live long day. And it's not. It's not. I was on a Facebook group today, and they were talking. It was a shot of Alek Manoah was talking with MLB Network about coming back from his surgery and all that stuff. And some guy wrote, he's just a waste of a roster space. Why do we even have this guy? Well, let's see. Why do we have Alek Manoah still? Well, let's see. What was it was it 2022 that he became third in the Cy Young Awards? And then 2023, he started to meh, right? And he had a bad season. And then he got hurt. And part of the reason he had a bad season is because he was hurt. Now, this guy said he's a waste of a roster space. How can a guy who's had one good season and one bad season be a waste of a roster space? How can you say that at his age, which is pretty young, I believe he's 26, 27, how can you say that he's going to be a shitty pitcher for the rest of his career? You can't. He was hurt. Maybe the reason he had a bad year was because he was hurt, or maybe he was pushing himself too far. There are things that kids need to learn as they're growing and becoming major league players. They're not going to be like gangbusters out of the gate all the time. Manoah was. He was a surprise. Just like Alejandro Kirk in 2020 was a surprise. We did not expect these guys to come up from the minors and contribute the way they did. And that put false expectations on them and expected them to be like world beaters for the rest of their careers. It doesn't work that way. There's no linear way for a guy to become better. There just isn't. Jose Bautista, He wasn't even a full-time player until he was 29 years old on our team. And the amount of teams he went through before that was crazy. But once he found the way and found his mark, he took off for 10 years. Right? So who's to say Alek Manoah can't go back to his Cy Young finalist form? Why can't he? Why does he have to be the worst? We're wasting a 40-man roster spot and all that stupid bluster. Your opinion, and this is to all of you Blue Jay fans who just think everything's crap. Your opinion is not fact. No, it's making me thirsty just talking about this. Why do we have to put up with this? Why? I'm sick and tired of the loudest Blue Jay fans being the ones who hate the team so much. If you hate a ball team so much that you have nothing good to say about them, why are you fucking watching them? Or my favorite is the same guy said, when I tried to explain to him how things work, that you can't judge a guy unless he's actually done something. He just went on and said, well, I bet I go to more games than you do. You're just a couch potato surfer and you eat your potato chips and stay home. Well, first of all, the amount of games you pay to go see doesn't make you any more of a fan than anybody else. There's a lot of people out there that can't even afford to go to a game, but they watch every game on TV. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. We have better numbers than almost every other major league team out there for people who watch their team on TV. And people talk about, oh, I'm not going to pay to see them. Da, da, da. If you don't go to a game, you watch them on TV, you are still creating advertising dollars. Advertisers pay because of all the people watching it. So boycotting your way doesn't work. So all I'm saying is I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with what he said about Alek Manoah being a good or bad pitcher or a horrible pitcher, as he said. All I'm saying is maybe wait till the guy's healthy and he's throwing again and then make your decision. You can't say guy's a waste of a roster spot because he's injured. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That argument holds no water to me. That's why I'm more optimistic than most, because everybody thinks once one thing goes bad with our team, then it's all bad. Shapiro and Atkins do one thing wrong, they're just terrible. They're not the greatest. They're not. Ross Atkins is a robot. I'm pretty sure he's AI. I mentioned that last time. I'm pretty sure Ross Atkins might be an AI robot, just from the way he talks. Shapiro has a bit more nuance to him. He talks a little bit more from the cuff and doesn't just always sit there and just rehash the same old stuff. No, Shapiro did everything he came to do. Do we still need him as our president? I don't know. David Bell's in as vice president. He's more of a baseball man than Shapiro ever was, so maybe we bring David Bell in. And Ross Atkins, even if they lose or even if they win well this year, I don't think he can stay. There's too many people that hate him. I don't understand the hate. What's he done? Well, he's made some pretty good trades, and he signed people, and he spent money that he's allowed to spend. Did he spend that money wisely? That's a debate we can have. But that's the other second thing I hear a lot is, oh, the Jays are never going to spend anything. This isn't 2000. This isn't Interbrew. This isn't Gord Ash's team. We have money to spend. We're spending so much. We're over the second tax threshold already. And that's a problem, but that's because we've not spent the money wisely. We have focused so much on our starting rotation with the money that it's become imbalanced. Now, you can say that everybody got what they deserved. They did. Gosman, Barrios, Bassett, all got the money that they deserved. But when you start building your team, you need a little more balance than that. And we keep saying they're going to be over budget. Well, they're going to have more guys coming through arbitration that are coming up. Bo and Vladdy getting extensions. The biggest thing is, and I see this changing in baseball in general, when you're signing a guy, you're signing him based on his past potential. So George Springer was signed based on his past potential. Now he's paying $25 million a year to be a fourth outfielder or nothing better than a fourth outfielder. Thank God they've already said, and John Schneider said this, that the batting order is it's an open book, he said. Well, that's good because you're not locking in a guy who couldn't hit for 2 months to begin the season and got kind of streaky. Love his defense, love his heart, love his character, but he's not worth of $25 million, and that $25 million could have been spent somewhere else. You're seeing it with guys now trying to lock up players early in their careers to long-term deals, which makes more sense because you're paying a player during their good seasons what they are deserved to be paid. No more of this, I'm paying you for what you've done. We're going to pay you for what we know you can do, has become more of the new mantra, which is, I think, a better way of doing things, that the younger players are getting paid out earlier. How Bull got bought out of all of his arbitration years for more than he could have got being in arbitration. He made as much money as guys like Trey Turner. So, the dollar values are there. Guerrero got $28.5 million for not going to for his arbitration that he didn't go in through. That's a lot of money, right? So the payroll's always going to be high if you want to have a decent team, but you got to balance that out. And the reason that it's not balanced is because we are not creating players out of our system. And that is one of the things that Atkins has not done. He has not built our farm system. It's a problem for me. The reason teams like Los Angeles, New York, Boston, and all those teams, Baltimore, are doing better for longer periods of time and they have longer windows is because they're constantly replenishing from within. Anthony Volpe, Jason Dominguez, for a couple of players to choose from New York. Hell, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rushman, you name any of the young kids, Colton Cowser, that are going through Baltimore. Why did they get them all? Because they sucked and got the draft really well, but they're still picking the right players. Even in the first round. Our first round players haven't really come around. Sean Reed Foley. Austin Martin got traded, and thank God we got Barrios for him, but he's not anywhere right now. He's not even on looking at being on the team for Minnesota this year, even though he was on a bit last year. He's not even projected to make the team this year. We draft guys that don't do well or they're hurt. We have 8 players that had Tommy John or elbow surgery. Now, is that the player's problem or is that a development problem? Since we have all the tools to develop these guys, that's great. But if you can't use the tools properly and guys are getting hurt, that's not great. So do we need different people to come in? Well, they have changed the coaching staff. So we'll see how that turns out. We'll try. And what else? What else was I like? Oh, the Alejandro Kirk thing. So I have not been down on Alejandro Kirk, but I've been very suspect of him because of his lack of conditioning. He was never going to be more than a backup catcher the way he was conditioned. Now, apparently this offseason, he has put in the time and he's looking better. So I think he can handle it. And honestly, I think there can be a very good argument to be made that Alejandro Kirk could still be better than Gabby Moreno, who everybody was salivating over, including me, because he had lots of potential. But right now, he keeps getting little injuries here and there. He's not hitting that great. His defense is good, but so is Alejandro. He's a Gold Glove finalist. He may not look prototypical. It took me a while to get over this, but he is a pretty good defensive catcher. I mean, once you lose the whole pitch framing, because we're going to start testing the, ball and strike indicator through robots, it might not be as important, but he still blocks balls well. And at the end of last season, he was throwing guys out like crazy. So good for him. He's making himself better. And that's my point of all of this, is all these kids we keep crapping on, we're going to make them better. They're trying to be better. They're getting better in the major leagues. So that's great, but we need them better before that. We don't need guys coming in at 25, 26, 27. We need guys coming in at 22, 23, 24 years old. And we're not getting that unless you're Bo or Vladdy. Or Elvis is 23. He might make the team, might not. Most of the guys are 24, 25 years old. And in baseball parlance, that's a long time. Will Wagner, 26 years old. I had another argument with a guy on, he says that I'm holding on to Will Wagner. I think Will Wagner is going to be the breakout guy of the whole season for the Jays. The problem is he doesn't have a place to play because we got Andres Jimenez, but I think Will Wagner is going to surprise a lot of people, including this guy who thinks he's just another Davis Schneider. Davis Schneider did not have a great track record coming into when he came up here. He had a lousy season, then he had a great season in the same place. Lousy in A, good in A. Lousy in Double A, good in Double A. Lousy in Triple A, good in Triple A. Got brought up, had one of the 10 best starts to a major league career that anybody's ever had. And then last year he hit 191. But he has a track record of not hitting. He also has a track record of correcting himself. So he could get better next year. That's fine. But this comparison with Will Wagner is not the same because Will Wagner has hit everywhere he's gone. He's always hit. Why he's not up these days, he came up last year, he hit. That's what he does. Now, he'll probably get reps at first, maybe some reps at third. That's fine. Maybe he'll even get some reps in the outfield. Who knows? They love to have the mix and match thing with the Jays, which I don't necessarily agree with. But if you want to get the guy's bat in the lineup, which you do something about it. But this guy said, oh, I'm just jumping on Will Wagner, just like we did Davis Schneider. Look what happened with that. Just because one guy does something doesn't mean every guy that comes after him is going to be the same thing. It's the stupidest argument I've ever heard. And if you have arguments like that, you shouldn't be having any discussions about this because you don't know what you're talking about. You're just getting bitchy and complainy because you want to be bitchy and complainy. If you're going to bitch and complain, have some facts. And so far, these people that I fight with don't have facts. What I'm giving you are the facts. That's it. If you want to go against facts, you're just like those dumb MAGA idiots in the States who don't believe in facts. Facts matter. Facts matter. Now, here's one thing I've been wondering about, that there's been so much not talked about when it comes to Bo. Now, Bo Bichette had a bad season last year, but he had those lingering injuries, those like fingers and calf muscles and all those little dinky ones that don't seem like much, but they really affect you when you need every part of your body to do a swing or whatever it is. You know, like having finger problems when you're gripping a bat, that's a problem. If it hurts, it's going to be a problem. So I take Bo as an outlier last year. I think it'd be better. I think we should have been discussing him more and seeing how people think he's going to do this year. Because that's a bat we didn't have. If Bo comes back to the leading the league in hits guy that he's been twice before and almost a third time, he's a top 100 player, even with his defense being average. But nobody talks about it. Nobody seems to care. And I find that strange. If we get his bat, that's like having a free agent that we didn't have before. Right? There's a bat we didn't have last year that's all of a sudden working again. So as it stands now, you want power, but you got Santander, Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette. Those are three guys that can hit the smack out of the ball. Alejandro Kirk has the capabilities and now that he's lighter, he might be faster and might do things better. Dalton Varsho, he'll hit you 20. Andres Jimenez has a chance to be who he was before. Now, at third base, I'm hoping it's Orelvis. It'll probably be Ernie, but if Orelvis takes it, that's another guy who has 30 home run potential. We talked about losing power and not having any power. Well, if you get Bo coming back, Santander in there, and you're talking about possibly Orelvis, that could be 100 home runs. And last year, those three positions got you maybe 50. That's the optimism I have. Because I don't believe these guys with all this talent can be bad every season. If you're bad 2 or 3 seasons in a row, then maybe I'll start wondering. Even with Andres Jimenez, even though his batting hasn't been that great this year or last year or the year before that he was a great hitter. He has the capability. He did a whole season. He was 5th or 6th in MVP voting that year. So to say that he's not going to hit and there's a terrible trade and people are just crapping all over this trade. We gave up what? Spencer Horwitz. We have so many Spencer Horwitz players. Who cares? It got us back a great arm for the bullpen and a guy who's a platinum glove second baseman who could possibly hit 260. So I think, and with Horwitz having apparently chronic wrist issues and he's going to be gone for 6 to 8 weeks, it's an even better trade. We got rid of somebody who's going to be perpetually hurt for a guy who could be one of the best defensive infielders in baseball and a guy who could, near the bottom of the order, do all right. And not every position has us mashing, but you don't need every position to mash. You need guys who can get on base. You need guys who can score. You need guys who can run. You need guys who know how to run the bases properly. And that's been an issue for us. And I hope that gets better as the years go on. But yeah, we haven't been the best base running team, but it doesn't matter. You can't always search for the free agents to fix your problems. That's why the Jays have issues. If a free agent has to fix all their problems, it's because of our biggest problem, not having a decent enough farm system. That's all that is. Now, if Shapiro and Atkins get fired, That's the reason they're going to get fired. They're not bringing us anybody new. They're not bringing us up the greatest huge prospect. Tiedemann could still be that guy. Barriera could be that guy. Savage could be that guy. But they're not yet because they're young players. Arjun Namala, he could definitely be that guy, but he's what, 20? Not even 20 years old yet? We have a lot of great pitching down in the lower minors, a lot of good players down there, but that gap between the A-ball and AAA is still a little bit dicey, but it's getting better. Our ceiling has been, our floor has been lifted, but now we got to lift our ceiling. We don't need another Vlad, but it'd be nice to have somebody who's pretty good and not just going to be a utility type player, which we are chock full of. Fair? Let's see. What else have I got down here? Oh, yeah. Okay. This is the one that gets me all the time. People complaining about the extensions being done or not done, or weirdness going on with contract negotiations, and like with Bregman getting a 3-year deal and Pete Alonso getting a 2-year deal, and people wondering why it's like that. You know why it's like that? Because there's a CBA coming up. That's why. We don't know what the rules are going to be after that. There is talk that you could lose a whole season based on that. And I don't want to lose a whole season, but we might. They want a hard salary cap, which is, the only sport that doesn't have one. Great. Most powerful players union that's out there. So I don't think it's going to happen, but I think you're going to start seeing the implementation of a salary floor. Right? But if you don't know what is going to be done in those negotiations, and you're looking at guys in their late 20s, early 30s looking for long-term deals, why would you do them if you don't know what's going to happen in the next CBA? Because maybe it'd be more to your advantage. And even with the players, maybe it'd be more to their advantage. That's why you're going to see kind of a stop on all this. And why next year's free agent class is kind of crap, because everybody's preparing for the CBA. And this is going to be a fight that you haven't seen since 94. And if it happens like it did in 94, that's going to be a huge death blow to Major League Baseball. People complain about the high salary, $740 million. You got to think about the revenue that the owners bring in. They bring in a lot of revenue. They know how to do it. How the Jays just lost 10 to 12,000 seats in the Rogers Center, but they're still going to make the same money out of there. Why? Because the ticket prices change. Things change. Nothing is set in stone in this game. Nothing is. You have to fight for your position all the time. That's why a 162-game season is such a marathon, because not everybody can do it. Why most players don't even make 5 or 6 years in the majors, because they just can't do it. It's a hard game to play every single day, mentally, physically, all of that. So sometimes you got to take those things into consideration. And I think people are way too quick to jump on players for having a bad season, or saying something they don't like, or doing something they don't like. They're just people. Rich people, very rich people, but they're just people. Like everything has to be perfect. Baseball is the most imperfect game there is. Hitting 300, getting out 70% of the time is considered to be a really good player. So if you're in a game of failure and trying to be the best at not failing, you got to cut some guys some slack. Let them feel love. Let them feel the warmth of the team. Let them feel that their fans like them. You don't like Shapiro and Atkins? Fine. We all know you all hate them. Why does having to mention them every single time a transaction is made, or every single time somebody says something, oh, Shackins never do it. Shackins sucks. Shackins this, Shackins that. It is the most tired, boring, stupid trope. Because they're not as bad as you think they are. They're not the greatest, but they're not that bad. They've made great trades. They've made great free agent signings. They just have been really crappy at development. So maybe they've done what they can do here. Maybe it's time to bring a new regime who knows how to develop better. Maybe that's what they need. But we don't know that. Everybody thinks they know everything. Y'all don't know nothings. Boy. Yeah. Well, what else do I have? I like getting this out of the way now, so I don't have to worry about talking about this crap later. You can like and subscribe on YouTube. You can say something in the comments if you agree or disagree. I will definitely talk about it. If you have questions or anything you want to throw at me, throw them at me. I've been watching this team since 1982. I still know that Dave Collins holds a single season stolen base record of 60, established in 1984, which astounds me. I know all kinds of things about this team. I have followed this team religiously. I think I know more about them than most people do. And I think I have facts that back up what I say as opposed to my butthurt feelings. And if you got butthurt feelings, go be a whiny crybaby somewhere else. There should be a whiny crybaby Blue Jay group so you can all bitch and complain to each other. Because I'm so sick and tired of it. Because we have no one in the playoffs. Yeah, that's a problem. But we've made it. We didn't get Soto. We didn't get Sasaki. We didn't get these guys. But we tried. Just because you want somebody doesn't mean they're going to automatically come there. This is the way it is. But at least they tried. These guys try. Even Bo Bichette said yesterday that he wants to be here because he sees how hard we try to make the team better, which is better than I can say for most other teams. Do we want to be the Mariners, who did nothing? You have Luis Castillo as an awesome trade chip, and you need a first baseman. Make a trade with somebody. But they didn't. They cry poor. You can't cry poor in baseball. If you don't have a $100 million payroll, it's a problem. And the Oakland A's have proven that. What did they do this year? Because they knew there might have been problems and they might have been called out on it. They went and they made some good trades, made some decent signings, and brought their payroll up. Oakland's going to be much better this year because they've made the effort. Minnesota hasn't made an effort. Detroit hasn't made an effort. The whole AL Central, basically, save for maybe Cleveland and Kansas City, don't make much effort. They just don't. Same with the National League Central. St. Louis, nothing. Cubs, killed it. But that's what the Cubs are realizing they have to do. Milwaukee, they got Nestor Cortez for Devin Williams. Cincinnati, that should be an interesting team just because of Terry Francona becoming the manager. But you just look around baseball and not many teams try what the Jays try. Just because they've failed doesn't make them bad management. It just means that the player chose somebody else. If you had a choice of living in Los Angeles or Toronto and you're from Japan, where do you think you're going to go? You're closer to home. You have better weather. You have to worry about maybe fires. But other than that, that's it. So you can't blame management for trying. They failed. They didn't get him. That's not a failure to me. The player chose who they wanted to choose. And that's it. So I'm going to wrap this up by saying you need to do better. That's my Joey Swoll impersonation. No, the Jays fans need to stop believing the team is like the Leafs because they're not. They have a chance to make the playoffs this year based on the moves that they made. They brought in 7 new players for the team. That's like a third of the team. A quarter of the team, almost. That's pretty good. If you're getting Leo Jimenez and Ernie Clement as your utility guys, you're on the right track. If you got Jake Bloss down there to back you up, and Adam Macko and Yariel Rodriguez, you're creating depth in the starting rotation. So they're getting there. It's just taken them too long. And the only reason Shapiro Atkins could be out is because it's been enough. And it's going to be done just for how things look. They want to look good to the fans who hate their guts, so they'll get rid of them. But who are we going to get? Let's see. We need the guys who can create a better farm system. That's where we need to be this time. Because if we can do that, then we can pick and choose our free agents as opposed to having to sign like 4 of them. Because, ideally, we could have Bregman, Alonso, and Santander. They were trying for all 3 of them. They probably would like to got all 3 of them. But if they had a Relvis coming up, why get Bregman, who's been on the downcline for 3 years? You need to look at the reasons why things are done as opposed to just reacting to what happens when they're done. If the reasoning is sound, but it doesn't work out, that doesn't make them bad management. It puts the blame somewhere else. Again, I'm not trying to be an apologist for the management team because they've done some things pretty badly. The Jose Barrios fiasco for that last playoff run was just stupid. They make bad decisions, but every team makes bad decisions. Every team makes a bad trade. Every team signs bad players. At least these guys are trying to build something and they're spending and trying. They're just not getting there. So now we need somebody else. But that's fine. So that's been your bluster about the Blue Jays for this week. Now, every Sunday I'll be popping these up. A lot of it depends on when the game's at. I want the Sunday games to finish, and I'm going to do a recap of the week and then do a preview of the coming week. That's going to be the standard going forward. And as I said, eventually I will be developing an alumni podcast where I would really love to talk to the old alumni leading up to the 50th anniversary of the team, which happens in 2 years. That is my biggest goal. So if you know any Jays you want to talk, hey, I'm here. Talk to this guy, the old guy who understands all the old people, what they did and what they've been doing. So there you go. Again, I want to thank the guys at the Walk Off Podcast for being so good to me last year. And also the guys from Blue Jays Today. Fantastic young guys who have definitely a beat on what's going on around here. Also, I'll just give a shout out to the Gate 14 podcast. I haven't watched much, but I love their enthusiasm, their energy. Johnny's been doing really good with that. And above all else, support your team. Let them know you love them. That makes them play better. They always say they love it when they do that. Booing your team doesn't do any good. If they deserve to be booed, sure. But if you're booing just because you're making something up in your mind, it doesn't work. It just doesn't. It makes you sound like a fool. I will back up everything I say with facts. So if you have anything to say about me, put in the comments below on YouTube. If you have a question for me, I will respond next time. If you have a topic you want to talk about, I will talk about that topic. Hell, I might reach a point where I might start bringing some of you guys on to talk with me. But you got to earn it. Like, subscribe. Help the algorithm. Help me out. Help out our Blue Jays brethren. Watch all these podcasts I mentioned to you because they're all informative in their own way. And you can always take something out of it. Mine's going to be more off the cuff, but I would really love to chat with people about this stuff. So if you want to chat about it, let me know. You can find me on Spotify, working on getting on Apple, and I am also, again, going to be putting on YouTube at Tallboy Speaks. I will be posting a link on my Blue Sky, which is also Tallboy Speaks, so you need to reach me there. That's what the link's going to be. And I thank you for watching, and hopefully we're going to have a great season this year. You know what? We are going to have a great season this year. Have fun.